There are questions so vast, so disorienting, that they almost seem to fold reality in on itself when we dare to ask them. Among them is one that lingers at the edge of philosophy, physics, and imagination. What if everything we see, touch, and know, every mountain, every atom, every star scattered across the night sky, is not truly real, but the output of a grand simulation? Imagine that the very ground beneath your feet, the warmth of the sun on your face, the memories you carry from childhood, and even the doubt rising in your mind right now as you hear these words are all artifacts, not of matter and energy, but of code and calculation. Imagine that existence itself is not a stage built of stone, but a theater of information. This thought does not feel entirely alien to us, because in some sense, we already live within simulations of our own making. The games we create, the digital worlds we design, the virtual landscapes rendered by machines all prove that consciousness can be immersed in realities that are not truly there. A child lost in a video game forgets the room around them. A pilot training in a flight simulator responds to illusions as though they were life or death. A mind in a dream accepts, without question, impossible places and impossible rules. If illusions can feel so real within the tiny structures we build, what prevents a far greater intelligence from creating a simulation so seamless, so complete, that we cannot detect its artifice? To think of life in this way is to blur the line between fiction and truth, because the idea that the universe itself could be simulated is not only the stuff of science fiction, but a hypothesis taken seriously by scientists and philosophers. Nick Bostrom, in 2003, famously proposed what is now called the simulation argument. He did not claim that we are definitely living in a simulation, but that one of three statements must be true. Either civilizations capable of running such simulations never survive long enough to do so, or they do survive but have no interest in simulating their ancestors, or, if they both survive and do have interest, then the number of simulated beings vastly outnumbers the real ones, and the odds that we are among the rare originals, rather than among the simulations, become staggeringly small. In that framing, our sense of reality becomes a statistical illusion, and the possibility that we live inside a simulation is not only plausible, but perhaps even probable. Consider the scale of computing power already at our fingertips. In barely a century, we have advanced from machines the size of rooms, crunching numbers slower than the human mind, to networks that process quadrillions of operations every second. Already we can simulate weather systems, galaxies, and even fragments of neural activity. We have created artificial intelligence capable of learning, creating, and deceiving. If our trajectory continues even for a fraction of the time humanity has existed, the leap towards simulated universes becomes imaginable. And if we can imagine it, why should we assume it has not already been achieved, by us in the future, or by beings far beyond us? The unsettling part is that, if we are simulated, there may be ways to detect it, or ways to realize that we never can. Some physicists have wondered whether the structure of the universe shows signs of being discrete rather than continuous, like pixels on a screen or code in a machine. Are the constants of physics, so finely tuned, evidence of design? Is quantum indeterminacy, where particles exist in states of probability until observed, proof that the simulation only renders detail when we look, just as a video game engine renders only the visible parts of a world to conserve resources? These are not proofs, but they are questions that dig at the edges of reality, unsettling the ground beneath our confidence. If this idea is true, then the implications ripple outward in layers, each more profound than the last. First, it would mean that the laws of physics are not ultimate truths, but the rules of a program, malleable if the designer wishes. Gravity, light, time itself, all would be adjustable parameters. What we call the Big Bang may have been nothing more than the initialization of the simulation, the moment the program began to run. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of that beginning, may be the boot sequence of our reality, the signature of a system coming online. And if this is the case, then we must ask the next, more terrifying question: who runs the simulation and why? Are we the experiments of scientists in some higher reality, studying our behavior across eons as we simulate cells or weather patterns in our laboratories? Are we the entertainment of beings far beyond us, a grand theater staged for their amusement? Are we training models for purposes we cannot imagine, a vast dataset feeding goals beyond our comprehension? Or are we ourselves the creators, lost within the nested layers of simulations upon simulations, forgetting that we once pressed the button that began this world? The thought is dizzying because it robs us of certainty. If everything is simulation, then meaning itself may be code. Morality, beauty, memory, these might not be eternal truths, but design choices, emergent properties of algorithms we cannot see. And yet, paradoxically, the possibility of simulation does not make these things less real to us. A simulated pain still hurts. A simulated love still shapes us. A simulated life is still a life. If reality is defined by experience, then even if we are simulated, our reality is no less valid than the higher one from which it springs. Still, there is a darker implication. If we are simulated, then our existence depends on the interest and will of our creators. If they grow bored, if they turn away, if they shut down the system, then everything we know could vanish in an instant, not with fire or flood, but with the flick of a switch. The end of our world may not come with trumpet blasts or cosmic collisions, but with silence as the program halts. And we would never see it coming. But there is one final twist, one that folds the idea back upon itself. If we are simulated, then perhaps our creators are too. Perhaps reality itself is infinite regress, simulation within simulation within simulation, a fractal of worlds each unaware of the one above it. And perhaps at the deepest level, there is no distinction between simulation and reality at all. Only layers of existence, each as real as the one that contains it, each telling stories to itself, each dreaming. And so we are left in a place both unsettling and strangely liberating. If the universe is a simulation, then reality is stranger than we can comprehend. But whether or not it is, the truth remains that we experience, we love, we fear, we strive, and we wonder. And if wonder is possible, even in a simulated world, then meaning is possible too. If the universe is a simulation, then the first truth we must face is that free will may not exist in the way we imagine. Every decision you believe you make, every pause before a choice, every tug of conscience, every flicker of inspiration, could be no more than the output of code. A branching script, a probabilistic algorithm, giving you the sensation of freedom while guiding you along predetermined pathways. Perhaps you argue that you feel free, and that is enough. But imagine standing in front of a mirror, speaking words you did not choose, moving in ways you did not command, and realizing that the reflection is you. If you are lines of code, then who are you really? And if the program wanted to, could it rewrite you in an instant, altering your memories, your desires, even your sense of self, so completely that you would never notice? And yet, the opposite may also be true. What if the very purpose of the simulation is to generate free will? What if the creators set the initial conditions, then step back, allowing intelligence to blossom in ways even they cannot predict? In this vision, we are not puppets but experiments, not characters in a script but emergent patterns of thought. Proof that freedom can arise from rules, that consciousness can bloom even in a machine. To live in a simulation may mean not that we are less real, but that we are the very thing our creators hoped to discover. The second consequence unsettles us even more. If the universe is simulated, then perhaps death itself is not what we think. When you close your eyes for the last time, is your consciousness truly extinguished, or does it merely log out? Do you awaken in another reality, stepping out of the simulation like an actor removing a mask after a long performance? And if so, does that mean that life is only a kind of role, a temporary immersion, a test? The idea has haunted mystics and religions for centuries, that this world is not the ultimate one, that existence here is preparation for something beyond. Could it be that faiths across the ages were intuitions of a truth, that life is not ultimate reality, but a layer of something higher, something more enduring? But then comes the third revelation. If simulations are possible, then there is no reason to believe we live in the first one. Just as humans create simulations nested within simulations, so too might our reality be contained within countless others. We could be living in a universe that is itself simulated by a civilization within another simulation, and so on, a chain without end, like mirrors reflecting into infinity. In such a vision, the concept of base reality becomes elusive, perhaps even meaningless. Reality becomes relative, a matter of perspective, each level as real to its inhabitants as the one above. And if that is true, then even if we discovered proof that we were simulated, we could never be certain that the simulators themselves were not simulated as well. The fourth consequence pushes into darker territory. If the universe is a simulation, then suffering itself may be intentional. Every heartbreak, every famine, every war, every disease. Perhaps these are not accidents of biology and physics, but deliberate parameters chosen by the designers. Perhaps the simulation was built to study conflict, to test morality, to explore how consciousness responds under pressure. To you, the pain is real, but to them it is data. To you, loss shatters the soul, but to them, it is a variable in an equation. This thought chills us, because it reduces the most sacred and intimate parts of life to mechanics. It raises the possibility that our joys and agonies are entertainment or research for minds beyond our comprehension. And yet, a fifth possibility offers a softer vision. Perhaps suffering is not cruelty but necessity. To simulate a world where beings grow, where choices matter, where love has weight, there must be risk, there must be pain, there must be death. A simulation without suffering would be sterile, static, lifeless. In this interpretation, our creators are not sadists but artists, giving us the full spectrum of experience because only through shadow can light be seen. If this is so, then our world is not meaningless but profoundly purposeful, designed not for cruelty but for depth. The sixth consequence unsettles the very fabric of science. If the universe is a simulation, then our search for ultimate laws may be in vain, for what we call laws of physics may not be laws at all but simply coding choices. They may be optimized for efficiency, for elegance, or even for aesthetic preference. The speed of light, the strength of gravity, the ratio of fundamental constants. Perhaps these are not eternal truths but adjustable settings like sliders on a control panel. And if they can be adjusted, then perhaps they have been adjusted. Perhaps the anomalies we see in the cosmos, dark matter, dark energy, the accelerating expansion of the universe, are not mysteries of physics, but glitches, patches, updates. We may be studying not the eternal fabric of reality, but the quirks of software. The seventh consequence brings the most terrifying possibility of all. If we are simulated, then the simulation may not last forever. It may end abruptly without warning. Our creators may decide they have gathered enough data, or grown bored, or simply wish to repurpose the system. In that instant, all of history, all of memory, all of existence would vanish, not with a bang or a slow decline, but with the silent flick of a switch. The apocalypse may not come from war, or plague, or asteroid, but from termination. And the thought that we could end not with catastrophe, but with deletion, is perhaps the most unsettling of all. And yet, within that terror, there is a peculiar liberation. If the universe is a simulation, then permanence was never promised. We are temporary, fleeting, ephemeral. But then again, so is every form of life, in every vision of reality. Whether simulated or not, we are finite. The difference is only in who holds the power to end us, physics or programmers. Either way, our task remains the same: to live while we can, to love while we can, to wonder while we can. For if meaning is found in experience, then even simulated meaning is real meaning. If the universe is a simulation, then we must confront not just the possibility that we are being simulated, but the reason for our existence. And as soon as we ask why, the story splits into multiple paths, each as plausible as it is unsettling. The first path is the path of the experiment. In this vision, we are not entertainment or art but research, data points in a colossal study. Our creators, whether biological beings, artificial intelligences, or something beyond either, have set the parameters of our world to observe the rise of life, the evolution of societies, the unfolding of intelligence. Perhaps they are testing the effects of different constants of physics, different arrangements of continents, different sequences of evolutionary chance. Perhaps there are countless universes running in parallel, each a variation, each a controlled trial. In this view, our wars, our loves, our triumphs and mistakes are not our own, but part of an endless array of scenarios. When we invent a new technology or wage a new kind of war, it is recorded as data. When we build cities or collapse into ruin, it becomes another data point. The rise and fall of our civilizations may be nothing more than a graph on a screen in another world. The second path is the path of entertainment. Here, we are not studied but watched. Our creators are not scientists but spectators, perhaps as removed from us as we are from the characters in a story. They may experience our lives vicariously, feeling our emotions, our struggles, our victories. Perhaps each of us is a vessel for a consciousness in another realm, living a life inside this simulation as a form of immersion, just as we play games or step into virtual worlds for amusement or catharsis. In this view, the tragedies and comedies of human history are not meaningless but chosen, like the plot lines of a sprawling novel. And if that is true, then death may be not an end but an exit, a return to the audience after the performance. The third path is the path of training. In this scenario, our universe is not an experiment nor a stage, but a classroom. We are here to learn something: empathy, creativity, resilience, moral growth. And the challenges we face are lessons embedded in the structure of the simulation. Each life is a course, each hardship a test, each joy a reward. Perhaps when we leave this world, we carry with us whatever we have learned, not into nothingness, but into a higher plane of reality where the knowledge matters. This is the scenario that many spiritual traditions would recognize. Life as a school for the soul, a training ground before some deeper existence. The simulation hypothesis, in this path, does not undermine religion but fulfills it. The fourth path is the path of art. In this vision, our creators are neither scientists, nor spectators, nor teachers, but artists. They build universes the way composers write symphonies, the way painters layer color onto canvas, the way poets string words into patterns of meaning. Our world, with its physics, its galaxies, its evolution, its suffering and beauty, is a work of art, perhaps the greatest work of art, precisely because it is alive, because it generates novelty, because it surprises even its creator. In this view, we are not data points but brushstrokes, not experiments but melodies. And to live is to participate in the creation of something beautiful, even if we cannot see the whole. The fifth path is the path of the prison. This is the bleakest vision. In it, our universe was not created for study, entertainment, training, or beauty, but as containment. We are here because we were placed here, confined in a simulation that acts as a cage. Perhaps our minds or souls committed acts that required exile. Perhaps we are dangerous or broken or unfinished. Perhaps the simulation is not a stage but a cell, a way to neutralize or rehabilitate us. This vision casts life in a chilling light. Our struggles, our limits, our mortality may not be natural but imposed, the walls of a jail we cannot see. The sixth path is stranger still. Perhaps the simulation was not built by beings outside it at all, but by us. Perhaps, in some far future, our descendants created a simulation of their own history so perfect that the inhabitants of that simulation, the people who think they are us, came to believe they were real. Perhaps we are that simulation. We are living memories of a world long gone, unaware that we are echoes. Our creators may not even be alive anymore. Their civilization may have collapsed. And yet the simulation runs on, its origin forgotten, its purpose lost. In this view, we are not experiments or prisoners or art. We are ghosts, endlessly reenacting a past we no longer understand. The seventh path is the most vertiginous of all. Perhaps there is no outside at all. Perhaps reality itself is inherently informational, inherently computational. Perhaps everything that exists, at every level, is simulation, not because someone designed it, but because that is the nature of being. In this view, there is no creator, no audience, no outside world. There is only the infinite play of information, patterns that give rise to consciousness, consciousness that gives rise to worlds, worlds that give rise to patterns. We are not inside a simulation built by someone else. We are the simulation. And to ask what is real beyond it is to misunderstand what reality is. Each path spirals outward into its own universe of implications. In some, we are experiments. In others, we are students, actors, artworks, prisoners, ghosts, or patterns. In some, death is an exit. In others, it is erasure. In some, our creators are benevolent. In others, they are indifferent. In some, we are alone. In others, there are countless other simulations running alongside ours, each with its own inhabitants, each believing it is real. And yet, no matter which path we imagine, the question that lingers at the heart of it is the same. What does this mean for us now, in this moment? If the universe is a simulation, how should we live? Should we rebel against it, seeking to break free? Should we devote ourselves to finding proof, to catching a glimpse of the code behind the curtain? Should we try to communicate with our creators, sending messages into the fabric of reality, hoping for a reply? Or should we simply live, because whether real or simulated, our experiences are still ours, our choices still matter, our loves still shape us? These are not easy questions. They are not meant to be. They are the questions that sit at the edge of philosophy and science, the questions that stretch our minds beyond their comfort, the questions that make us feel small and vast at once. And perhaps that is their true power. Whether or not the universe is a simulation, asking the question forces us to see our world differently, to see ourselves differently. It cracks the shell of certainty, letting in a light from beyond. If the universe is a simulation, then every star you have ever seen, every hand you have ever held, every dream you have ever whispered to yourself in the quiet of night, might be written into lines of code. And yet, if those lines of code made you laugh, if they made you weep, if they gave you love and fear and wonder, then how can they be anything but real? What, after all, is reality? Is it matter, vibrating particles and energy fields? Is it consciousness, the inward flame that perceives? Or is it simply whatever moves you, whatever feels alive, whatever makes you believe? If the universe is a simulation, then the lesson may be not that life is fake, but that life is more than the material. It is the experience itself, the awareness of being, the fragile and immeasurable weight of existence. Perhaps that is the paradox. To discover that the universe is a simulation is not to discover that it is meaningless, but to discover that meaning lies not in the foundation of things, but in their unfolding. A sunset is no less beautiful because it is rendered. A song is no less moving because it is composed. A life is no less profound because it is part of a pattern. What matters is not the origin of the pattern, but the fact that it blooms here, now within you. And yet the question lingers, like a shadow at the edge of thought. If we are inside a simulation, should we seek to break free? Should we try to escape into whatever lies beyond? Or should we remain within, knowing that freedom might not be out there but in here, in the way we choose to live, even inside the code? The prison may not be the simulation, it may be our fear of it, and the key may not be to escape, but to awaken. For some, the idea of a simulated universe is terrifying. For others, it is comforting. But perhaps the truth lies in a place that transcends both fear and comfort. To live in a simulation is to live in a story, a grand and intricate narrative spun from rules and randomness. But to be aware of it, to question it, to stand at the edge of your own existence and ask, what if this is not all there is? That is something no simulation can fake. That is consciousness. That is wonder. That is you. And maybe that is the point. Maybe the creators, whether they are beings of flesh, of machine, or of something beyond imagining, are not watching our wars or our cities or our science most closely. Maybe what they are watching is this: the moment when a consciousness becomes aware of itself, when it turns inward and outward at once and asks the impossible question, what is real? If so, then in this very act of wondering, you are fulfilling the deepest purpose of the simulation. You are doing the one thing no line of code can predict. You are choosing to seek. So let us leave the question unresolved. Let us stand together in this liminal space, between certainty and doubt, between reality and illusion, between science and story. For whether the universe is a simulation or not, the fact remains, you are here now, alive, awake enough to ask the question. And that, in itself, is extraordinary. If this journey has stirred something within you, if it has opened a door you did not know was there, then consider stepping further with us. For every question answered gives birth to 1,000 more. Every path we follow branches into others stranger still. And every mystery, no matter how vast, is only the beginning. If you would walk those paths with us, if you would follow the questions wherever they may lead, then join us. For every choice leads to a new story, and together we will see where they unfold. The universe may be a simulation, or it may not. But in the end, the truth is this. What matters is not what lies beyond the code, but what you do within it. So live, so wonder, so dream. Because whether the cosmos is carved from matter or written in lines of code, it has given you this one astonishing gift, the chance to be. And perhaps, in the silence between your heartbeat and the stars, that is enough.